Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trasher Football, and today I'm going to go over and predict who I think is going to win in the matchup between the number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs at the number 4 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. So if you look at the ESPN website, if you look at the ESPN bet part over here, you see that right now the line is at Georgia as a +1 favorite. I've seen the line move, and by the time that this game is played tomorrow, this game could end up being a pick'em. Now, I'm not that big into sports betting. I've never bet $1 in my entire life, but I still like to keep up with the sports line bets. I like to look at the over-unders. I don't really pay attention to the money line and stuff. You won't really look to be getting much if you're looking into a game between two top-ranked teams like this. But Georgia is favored by 1 point. You know, Georgia, these last couple of weeks, they've been really up and down. You know, they are coming off of a bye week, I do believe. The last game that Georgia did play was a 1-point win at Kentucky. They won 13-12 in a game that Kentucky really could have won, and that would have been a big upset. Probably the biggest upset in program history for the Wildcats, but Georgia somehow still hung on. Before that, they only allowed 6 combined points, 3 from Tennessee Tech and 3 from Clemson. So we do know that Georgia's defense is still top tier. They've only allowed a total of 18 points this season between 3 games, and one of them being a top 25 ranked Clemson, who still has a possibility to win the ACC if they can compete with Miami. Georgia has looked pretty decent. Carson Beck has thrown for 680 yards, and Gunnar Stockton still has came in for the backup role and garbage time if need be. Carson Beck has thrown for 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, has been sacked only once, so I guess you can trust the offensive line for the most part. Trevor Etienne has had a pretty good season so far, 24 carries for 157 yards. No touchdowns yet, so I think that we might be able to see the former Gators' first touchdown of the season here as a Bulldog. Dominique Lovett is the leading receiver for this Georgia Bulldogs team at 155 receiving yards and a touchdown. The only receiver for Georgia with multiple touchdowns is Colby Young. 5 receptions, 41 yards. Interesting fact right there. And then if we look at this Alabama team, they are ranked number 4. This is year 1 without Nick Saban. This is going to be a really interesting season to see how it pans out after this Georgia game. Alabama in week 1 did play against Western Kentucky. They absolutely shut them out, 63-0. No surprise there. It's Western Kentucky. And then they played against Southern Florida in a game that was really, really close for the longest time. If you look at the box score, at one point Bama was winning only 21-16 with about 6 minutes left in the game, and then they just ran away with it late in the game. Alabama, this is a really good offensive team. Jalen Milroe, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC right now. He looked really good against Wisconsin. He's looked really good against Southern Florida, looked really good against Western Kentucky. And if we look at this Alabama team, they also have been able to run the ball very well. A total of 714 rushing yards. That's more rushing yards than passing yards so far this season, with the leading rusher being Jam Miller, and number 2 being Justice Haynes. A lot of you guys know about him. And the leading receiver for this Alabama Crimson Tide team is the 17-year-old, I believe he's 17 years old, Ryan Williams, the true freshman out of Mobile, Alabama. He has been absolutely dominant. This is going to be a guy that's a possible Heisman contender later in his career, even if he stays at Alabama or not. This is one of the most talented young players in the nation. He will definitely make the All-SEC freshman, All-Americans list. 10 receptions, 285 yards for 4 touchdowns, an average of almost 30 per catch. That's really good. A long of 84. This guy is really talented. Huge future for him. And for this Alabama-Georgia game, it's really going to come down to, can Alabama keep the running game up against Georgia? Georgia has had a really good pass defense so far this season, especially over the last couple of seasons. If you look at the statistics, when they faced off against their former quarterback, Brock Vandagriff, he was a backup. at Kentucky. He was only 14 for 27, 144 yards, but they did allow almost 100 yards from one running back. So I think if Alabama can really get the running game down against this Georgia team, then they should be able to at least keep it close. Now, obviously, we can't really look at Tennessee Tech and really care much there. It's an FCS school. But even if you look at Clemson, who is ranked right now, I do believe... what are they ranked? Let me check real quick. The Clemson Tigers are ranked number 17. They were 14 when they played against Georgia. Cade Klubnik did not look that great. He was 18 for 29, 142 and a pick. Maffa was able to get 59 yards on the ground, which is decent. If I don't expect Alabama to take many deep shots, and if they can, maybe that they can be able to take advantage of this Georgia defense if they are able to make some big plays. But I think a lot of this game is going to come on the ground with the Alabama offense. Now, for Georgia's offensive side of the ball, the way that they need to win the game is they need to be heavy in the passing game. In the first game against Clemson, they have done that. Carson Beck, 23 for 33, 278, 2 touchdowns. Looked really good against Clemson. And then against Kentucky, he was only 15 for 24. I believe this is 160 yards. So as long as they can keep up a passing game, then they should be able to do good. Now, Alabama's passing defense has looked really good, especially against Wisconsin. Their quarterback Locke, 13 for 26, 125 and a touchdown. Ouch. Another thing with this Alabama team, when they played against Southern Florida, their quarterback also barely threw for over 100 yards, 103 yards. Not that great. And then against Western Kentucky, you obviously don't really expect much from them. Didn't even hit 100 yards passing. This Alabama team has looked so far to be good against the pass and the rush too. But they haven't played great teams. They've only played one Power 4 team, being Wisconsin, and they're not really that great and haven't been for a minute. Southern Florida is really a nobody, and so is Western Kentucky. No offense to people who play or coach for those teams, but that's just how it is. Now, with all the statistics out of the way, it's time for me to make my prediction for this game. Like I said, Georgia is a 1-point favorite. This game will be in prime time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow on ABC ESPN+. I'm going to take Alabama +1 against the Georgia Bulldogs. I do think that the home field advantage of a loud, sold-out crowd at Bryant-Denny Stadium will help tremendously. This is going to be one of the top games this season. Not only the top game this week, but this is going to be the most important game so far this season, and going to be one of the top 3 going into the preseason when you look at who should get what spot in the college football playoff. Now, when it comes to the over-under, it is at 50.5. So that basically means that they think that somewhere Alabama will lose maybe like 25-24, 26-25, somewhere in that range. I think I'm going to pick the over. I think that this is going to be a really heavy offensive game. If the defenses can keep up, both teams really haven't played elite talented teams, and with the fact that Georgia struggled at Kentucky, makes me think that they have a chance to struggle at Alabama. So give me Alabama +1 in this game. Obviously, that would mean I do predict Alabama to win. If you look at ESPN's analytics on the matchup predictor, they have a 65.8% chance to win tomorrow. But let me know in the comments down below who you think is going to win this matchup tomorrow night. I would love to see your guys' predictions. Let me know some other matchups you would like to see me predict before tomorrow. I'll try and maybe get 1 or 2 out more before tomorrow morning if possible. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for our live game reactions.